Hello, and thank you for being with me again. This time I wanted to talk about just how essential it is that we grow in love during this life. In a number of my previous talks, I have referred to the fact that we're here actually to learn to love so that after this life, we'll be ready to go and live in the kingdom of love, the kingdom of heaven, and find ourselves at home. And this week's gospel that I've been focusing on is in the 16th chapter of St. Luke's Gospel, verses 19 to 31. And it's the account of the rich man and the poor man at his door. And it teaches us just how essential this love for others is, and how that is actually the deciding factor on what happens to us after we die. The story goes that the rich man, and all it tells us about him is that he was rich, he dressed in fine clothes, and he banqueted every day. And all that tells us about the poor man is that he was poor, that he was hungry, and that the dogs came even to lick his wounds. He was so poor and was lying in the street. Now, what's interesting about this account is that when they die, the rich man is buried and doesn't go to heaven. And this despite the fact that in the account, the story that Jesus tells, nothing is said about him being an evil person or a bad person. Merely we're told that he was rich and he had the means to help that poor man and didn't. We're also not told whether the poor man was a nice person or not, whether he was in that position through his own fault or not, or anything else about him. What we are told, though, is that the dogs came to lick his wounds, and since dogs were considered by Hebrews at the time to be unclean animals like pigs, their touching this poor man, licking his wounds, made him unclean, which in turn, according to his religion, would have made the rich man unclean in reaching out to touch this poor man. And so we can almost sympathize with him for not having touched him. And yet, this decision of where he ended up after death was based on his not responding to the needs of this man at his door. And so, as I say, this is where we see the essentiality of a life lived expressing love for those around us, showing that we care for them and actually caring for them. We also have an interesting parting shot from Jesus when the rich man, finding himself separated from Abraham and heaven, says to Abraham, "Could you please send Lazarus back to warn my brothers so that they don't come to this place too?" And Abraham replies, "They have the prophets and everybody else to tell them what is right. They can listen to them." And he says, "Oh no, but if you send Lazarus back from the dead, then they'll listen." And he says, even if someone comes back from the dead, they won't listen. And of course, this can be seen as referring to Christ himself, who came back from the dead, and yet people don't listen. It's also interesting that on so many videos, when can find online, people come back with the surprising news that there is life after death, with the surprising news of all sorts of things. And it's not such surprising news if you've been following Christ, because he told us this and he showed us this in his life all that time ago. However, as I say, what we do need to bear in mind is that in the end, what is essential is the love for one another. And as Christ himself said, that he did not come to abolish the 10 Commandments. He came to fulfill them and to add the new layer to them by his commandment of love one another as I have loved you. And so this is all to teach us that our love and our help, our care for other people is not to be based on their merits or demerits. It's not to be based on how they're seen by our religion, our society, or by anybody else. It's based on the fact that both they and we are children of God, and as brothers and sisters in Christ, we're obliged, we're called upon to have love for them, to express this Christian love for them, in caring for them, irrespective, as I say, of exactly what went on in their lives, how they ended up there, or any other considerations in that regard. And so, as I say again, this is the essentiality of our call as Christians, to show love for one another. And this is not going to happen unless we draw close to God, feel his love for us, and knowing and feeling loved, we become capable of expressing that love to others. And may you enjoy experiencing the love of God in your life this week. And may God bless you. Thank you.